My sister showed up at my door holding the deed to my house. Not a copy. The actual deed. She stood there with this smug smile on her face, my parents flanking her like proud bodyguards, and said the words that made my blood run cold. "This is mine now. Mom and Dad signed it over to me yesterday. You need to be out by the end of the month." I stared at the paper in her hands. My grandmother's house. The house I'd been living in for 10 years. The house I'd poured $120,000 into, paying the mortgage month after month while my parents pretended it didn't exist. The house that was supposed to be mine. But apparently, my parents had other plans. They'd decided to gift it to my little sister as a wedding present. No discussion, no warning, just a dinner announcement and a done deal. And that's when I realized something. For my entire life, I'd been the backup plan, the afterthought, the one who didn't matter. Not anymore. Let me back up. My name is Sarah, I'm 28, and I've spent my whole life watching my parents worship my younger sister Emma. She's 25, beautiful, talented, and according to my parents, absolutely perfect. Emma was the kid who got piano lessons, dance classes, and a brand new car for her 16th birthday. I was the kid who got a bus pass and a reminder to be grateful. It wasn't always obvious. They never sat me down and said, "We love Emma more." But the message was clear in 1,000 tiny ways. When Emma wanted to study art in college, they paid her tuition without blinking. When I wanted to go to nursing school, they told me to take out loans because they couldn't afford it. When Emma needed money for her apartment in the city, they sent checks. When I needed help fixing my car, they said I should learn to budget better. I learned early on that I was on my own, and honestly, I made peace with it. I worked 2 jobs through college. I built a career. I became independent. I didn't need them. But the house, that was supposed to be different. My grandparents left me that house when I was 18. It was a small 3-bedroom cottage about an hour outside the city. Nothing fancy, but it was beautiful. White shutters, a wraparound porch, a backyard with the oak tree I used to climb as a kid. My grandmother used to make lemonade on that porch every summer. My grandfather taught me how to plant tomatoes in the garden. That house held every good memory I had of my childhood. When they passed away, they left it to me. Not Emma. Me. My grandmother even said it out loud before she died. "This house is for you, Sarah. You're going to need it more than your sister." She was right. Emma always had my parents. I had to build my own foundation. I was 18 when I inherited it, and my parents said they'd handle the legal paperwork. The deed was still in their name because of some trust situation I didn't fully understand. They promised they'd transfer it to me when I turned 21, then it was 25. Then it was when you're more financially stable. I was young and trusting. I believed them. Meanwhile, I moved into the house. I started paying the mortgage. Every single month for 10 years, I transferred money into my parents' account because the mortgage was in their name. $1,200 a month like clockwork. That's $144,000 over 10 years. I fixed the roof when it leaked. I replaced the water heater. I repainted every room. I planted new flowers in the garden. I poured my heart and my savings into that house. My parents never asked how I was managing. They never offered to help. They just took the payments and said nothing. Emma, meanwhile, was living her best life. She worked part-time as a freelance artist, which basically meant my parents subsidized her lifestyle while she painted and went to yoga classes. She lived in a trendy apartment downtown that they helped pay for. She drove a car they'd bought her. And last year, she met Jake. Jake came from money, old money, the kind of family that has a lake house and a yacht. Emma was over the moon. My parents were thrilled. Finally, their perfect daughter was getting the perfect life she deserved. The engagement happened fast. 6 months of dating, and Jake proposed with a ring that probably cost more than my car. My parents immediately started planning the wedding of the century. They talked about venues and caterers and flower arrangements like they were planning a royal coronation. The budget kept climbing. $50,000, $70,000, $100,000. I watched all of this from the sidelines. I wasn't asked to be a bridesmaid. I wasn't asked for input. I was just expected to show up and smile. That was fine. I had my own life. My boyfriend Daniel and I were talking about getting engaged. I had my house and my career and my independence. I thought I was safe. I thought the one thing they couldn't touch was the home my grandparents gave me, the home I'd built with my own hands and my own money. I was wrong. 3 months before Emma's wedding, my parents invited Daniel and me over for dinner. It was unusual. We didn't do family dinners often, maybe twice a year at most, but Mom called and said they wanted to discuss something important related to the wedding. I figured they wanted me to contribute money or help with planning. I steeled myself for the ask. Daniel and I showed up on a Thursday night. Emma and Jake were already there, sitting at the table looking way too pleased with themselves. My parents were buzzing with excitement. Mom had made pot roast, which was weird because she only made pot roast for special occasions. We made small talk through the first course. Emma gushed about wedding dress shopping. Jake talked about their honeymoon plans in Italy. I nodded and smiled and felt completely disconnected from all of it. This wasn't my world. These weren't my people, but they were my family, so I played along. Then, right as Mom brought out dessert, she dropped the bomb. "We have wonderful news. Your father and I have decided to give Emma your grandmother's house as a wedding gift." The room went silent. At least, I think it did. Maybe everyone else kept talking. I couldn't hear anything over the ringing in my ears. I put down my fork. I looked at my mother, then at my father, then at Emma, who was smiling like she'd just won the lottery. "Wait, what?" My voice came out hoarse. Dad cleared his throat. "We think it's the perfect gift. Emma and Jake need a place to start their life together. The house is paid off. Well, almost. And it's got plenty of space for when they have children." "Paid off?" I repeated slowly. "I've been paying the mortgage for 10 years. Mom waved her hand dismissively. "You've been living there, dear. Consider it rent." Rent. She called it rent. $144,000 in rent for a house that was supposed to be mine. "That house is mine," I said. My hands were shaking. "Grandma left it to me." "Technically," Dad said, using his calm lawyer voice that always made me feel like a child. "The house is still in our name. We never transferred the deed to you, so legally it's ours to do with as we please." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. All those years, all those promises that they'd transfer it soon. They'd never intended to. They'd kept it in their name deliberately. They'd been planning this. "I've put over $120,000 into that house," I said. My voice was rising. Daniel put his hand on my arm, but I shook him off. "I've fixed everything. The roof, the plumbing, the electrical. I've paid the mortgage every single month for a decade." "And we're grateful for that," Mom said sweetly. "You've taken excellent care of it. That's why it's in such great shape for Emma and Jake." Emma finally spoke. "Jake and I absolutely loved the house when Mom and Dad showed it to us last week. The porch is perfect. We're thinking of having the reception there, actually." They'd shown her the house, behind my back, while I was at work, probably. They'd walked through my home, planned their future in it, and decided it was theirs. "Emma needs this more than you do," Mom continued. "She's starting a family. You're not even married yet, and you've always been so independent. You'll land on your feet." Independent. The word they used when they meant, "We don't have to help you." The word that had defined my entire childhood. "This is insane," I said. I looked at Daniel. He looked as shocked as I felt. "You can't just give away my house." "It's not your house," Dad said firmly. "It's ours, and we've made our decision." I stood up. My chair scraped loudly against the floor. "I need to go." "Sarah, don't be dramatic," Mom said. "Sit down and finish your dessert. We can discuss the moving timeline." "Moving timeline?" Emma pulled out her phone. "We're thinking you should be out by the end of next month. That gives us 3 months before the wedding to renovate." I looked at her. Really looked at her. My little sister. The girl I'd grown up with. There wasn't an ounce of guilt or sympathy in her eyes. Just entitlement. Just expectation. She genuinely believed she deserved this. I walked out without another word. Daniel followed me. I made it to the car before I started shaking so hard I couldn't drive. Daniel took the keys and drove us home while I sat in the passenger seat and tried not to scream. They'd stolen my house. My family had stolen my house. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table, the kitchen I'd renovated myself, and I tried to process what had happened. Daniel made coffee and sat with me. He didn't try to fix it. He just listened while I spiraled. "They planned this," I kept saying. "They never intended to give me this house. They've been waiting for the right moment to take it back." Daniel squeezed my hand. "What do you want to do?" That was the question, wasn't it? What could I do? The deed was in their name. I'd been naive enough to trust them, stupid enough to believe that family meant something. I called them the next morning. Mom answered on the third ring. "We need to talk about the house," I said. "Sweetheart, we already discussed this. The decision is made. I've paid $120,000 into that house. I've lived there for 10 years. You can't just take it." "We're not taking anything. We're giving Emma a gift. You've benefited from the house for a decade. Now it's her turn." "Her turn? This isn't a toy you're sharing between kids. This is my home, my inheritance from Grandma." "Your grandmother left it to the family," Mom said. Her voice had gone cold. "And we're the ones who decide how it's distributed. Emma needs it more. She's getting married. She's building a future." "And what am I doing? Playing house?" "You know what I mean. You're established. You have a career. Emma is just starting out." Just starting out, at 25, with parents who'd funded her entire life, while I'd been working since I was 16. "This isn't fair," I said. "Life isn't fair, Sarah. You of all people should know that. Now, I need you to be reasonable about this. We'd like you out by the 15th of next month. That gives Emma time to plan renovations." She hung up before I could respond. I sat there staring at my phone. Reasonable. She wanted me to be reasonable while they stole my house. I called a lawyer that afternoon. I explained the situation. I sent him every bank statement showing my mortgage payments, every receipt from renovations, every piece of documentation I had. He reviewed everything and called me back within 2 hours. "You have a case," he said. "If you've been paying the mortgage and maintaining the property, and if your grandparents' will specifically left the house to you, your parents had a fiduciary duty as trustees to transfer the deed. We can fight this." Those words. "We can fight this." They felt like oxygen. "Do it," I said. But before my lawyer could send a letter, Emma made her move. 3 days after the dinner, I came home from work to find Emma standing on my porch. She was holding a manila envelope. My parents were standing behind her. All 3 of them looked like they were attending a ceremony. I got out of my car slowly. "What's going on?" Emma held up the envelope. "Mom and Dad signed the deed over to me this morning. It's official." She pulled the deed out. "My grandmother's house, transferred to Emma Louise Chen, dated yesterday." "You need to move out by the end of the month," Emma said. She wasn't even pretending to be sorry. "Jake and I want to start renovations. We're knocking out the wall between the kitchen and dining room, and that wallpaper in the bedroom has to go." The wallpaper. The wallpaper I'd hung with my grandmother when I was 12. Sunflowers. She'd let me help. She'd said, "Someday this will be yours and you can decorate it however you want." Something snapped inside me. "Get off my porch." Emma blinked. "Excuse me?" "I said get off my porch, all of you." "This is my house now," Emma said, waving the deed. "I can stand wherever I want." "The deed is fraudulent. My lawyer is filing an injunction tomorrow. That piece of paper means nothing." Dad stepped forward. "Sarah, you're being unreasonable. We have every legal right to—" "You have no rights to this house. Grandma left it to me. You were supposed to be trustees. You violated that trust, so get the hell off my property before I call the police." Mom gasped. "How dare you speak to us like that?" "How dare I?" I laughed. It sounded unhinged even to my own ears. "You stole my house. You've been planning this for months. You walked through my home behind my back. You've treated me like garbage my entire life. And you want to talk about respect?" Emma's face twisted. "You're being selfish. I'm getting married. I need this house." "No," I said quietly. "You want this house. There's a difference. Now leave. Before I make you leave." My dad puffed up. "Are you threatening us?" "I'm telling you to get off my property. What you do next is up to you." We stared at each other for a long moment. Then Mom grabbed Emma's arm. "Come on, let her have her tantrum. She'll come to her senses." They left. I watched their car disappear down the street. Then I went inside, locked the door, and called a locksmith. Within 2 hours, every lock on the house was changed. Then I blocked all of their numbers and let my lawyer do his job. My lawyer moved fast. Within 48 hours, he'd filed a petition to void the deed transfer and sent a demand letter to my parents. The letter was beautiful in its simplicity. It laid out the facts. My grandparents' will, explicitly leaving the house to me. My parents' role as trustees, 10 years of mortgage payments, totaling over $120,000, receipts for another $30,000 in renovations and repairs, their breach of fiduciary duty, and the fraudulent transfer of property that wasn't legally theirs to give. The letter ended with a demand: transfer the deed to me immediately, compensate me for all mortgage payments and renovation costs, or face a lawsuit for fraud, breach of trust, and conversion. My dad called from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. He left a message asking me to be reasonable and think about the family. I deleted it. Emma sent me a string of texts from a friend's phone. I didn't read past the first one where she called me a selfish bitch. I blocked that number too. Mom somehow got Daniel's number and called him, crying about how I was tearing the family apart. Daniel told her that she'd done that herself and hung up. My lawyer called them directly. Respond to the letter by Friday or we file in court on Monday. They responded on Thursday. My parents' lawyer tried to argue that since the deed had been in their name, they had the right to transfer it. My lawyer shut that down immediately. The house had been left to me in a will. They were trustees. They'd accepted mortgage payments from me for a decade. They'd allowed me to make major repairs and renovations. They'd behaved in every way as if I were the owner. Any court would see the transfer to Emma as fraudulent. Their lawyer knew it. I could tell from the tone of his response letter. He was already trying to negotiate a settlement. It took 2 weeks of back and forth, but they finally caved. The deed was transferred to my name. Properly this time. Legally. Irrevocably. And they agreed to compensate me $130,000. That was my mortgage payments plus interest and a portion of the renovation costs. They paid it in installments. It hurt them. I could tell it hurt them, especially when they had to pull money from Emma's wedding fund. The wedding got downsized, way downsized. Instead of the sprawling country club reception for 300 guests, Emma and Jake had a small ceremony with 75 people at a local restaurant. No destination honeymoon in Italy. No custom designer dress. No house as a wedding gift. Emma called me from yet another number 2 days before her wedding. I answered because I was feeling generous. "I hope you're happy," she said. Her voice was shaking. "You ruined everything." "No," I said calmly. "You tried to steal my house. There's a difference. It was supposed to be mine. Mom and Dad promised." And there it was. They'd been planning this for a while, maybe years. Maybe since the moment my grandparents died. "Goodbye, Emma," I said. And I hung up. I didn't go to the wedding. They didn't invite me anyway. I haven't spoken to my parents or Emma in 6 months. They tried reaching out a few times. Mom sent a birthday card. Dad left a voicemail on Christmas. Emma sent a passive-aggressive text about forgiveness and family. I didn't respond to any of it. Daniel asked me once if I regretted it, standing up to them, burning that bridge, taking back what was mine. I thought about it, really thought about it. Then I said no. For the first time in my life, I set a boundary. I said, "You can't treat me like this anymore," and I followed through. It cost me a relationship with my family. But what kind of relationship was it really? One where I was valued only for what I could provide and discarded the moment I stood up for myself. I live in my grandmother's house, my house now, legally, completely, without question. I wake up every morning on that porch with coffee and remember what my grandmother said. "This house is for you, Sarah." She was right. It was always mine. I just had to fight for it. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever been the one who had to fight for what you deserved while someone else got it handed to them, drop a comment below. Have you ever had to cut off family to protect yourself? Do you think I went too far? Or did I do what I had to do? If this story hit home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more real-life tales of family drama, justice served, and standing up for yourself. Because sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to be a doormat anymore.